Have you ever witnessed a moment when history visibly turned a page? On April 27, 1994, millions of South Africans stood in line for hours, sometimes days, to cast a vote that many never thought they would live to see. By the end of this video, you'll understand how this watershed moment not only transformed a nation divided by decades of racial segregation, but also inspired hope around the world. For nearly 50 years, South Africa had lived under apartheid, a brutal system of institutionalized racial segregation. The white minority government had denied basic rights to the black majority, forcing them to live in designated areas, carry identification passbooks, and submit to countless humiliating restrictions. Those who resisted were often imprisoned, like Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years behind bars. But in February 1990, after years of mounting international pressure and internal resistance, the tide began to turn. F.W. de Klerk's government released Mandela and unbanned opposition parties like the African National Congress. What followed were 4 years of difficult negotiations, punctuated by violence and uncertainty, as the nation charted its path toward democracy. As April 1994 approached, South Africa prepared for an unprecedented undertaking, organizing a free election in which all adult citizens, regardless of race, could participate. For approximately 18 million South Africans, this would be their first time ever casting a ballot. The logistics were staggering: training poll workers, establishing voting stations, designing ballots with party symbols for voters who couldn't read, and ensuring security amid ongoing tensions. When April 27 arrived, now celebrated as Freedom Day, the world watched in awe as South Africans of all backgrounds lined up together. Elderly people who had waited their entire lives for this moment were carried to polling stations. Some voters brought folding chairs and food, prepared to wait as long as necessary. The determination was palpable. This was a moment no one wanted to miss. Voting actually took place over several days, from April 26 to 29th, to accommodate the massive turnout. The sheer number of first-time voters created long delays, but there was remarkably little complaint. Instead, a sense of jubilation and camaraderie prevailed. People who had been legally separated for decades stood side by side in line, sharing food and conversation. When the votes were counted, Nelson Mandela's African National Congress won in a landslide with 62.6% of the vote. On May 10, 1994, Mandela was inaugurated as the country's first black president. In his address, he declared, "Never, never, and never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another." The significance of this election extended far beyond South Africa's borders. It represented one of the most profound, peaceful transitions from oppression to democracy in modern history. A nation that many feared would descend into civil war had instead chosen the path of reconciliation and unity. Consider this: just a decade earlier, the idea of black South Africans voting alongside whites seemed utterly unimaginable. The apartheid government had vowed never to surrender power. Yet through a combination of sustained resistance, international pressure, and visionary leadership, the seemingly impossible had happened. South Africa's journey didn't end with that election, of course. The legacy of apartheid created deep inequalities that continue to challenge the nation today. But Freedom Day represents a pivotal turning point, the moment when a broken system gave way to the hope of something better. What moment of change have you witnessed in your lifetime? What lessons can we learn from South Africa's transition to democracy? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The story of South Africa's first democratic election reminds us that even the most entrenched systems can change when enough people commit to a different vision. As Mandela himself said, "It always seems impossible until it's done." Those words ring true not just for South Africa's transformation, but for any seemingly insurmountable challenge we face. If you found this story inspiring, hit that like button and subscribe to History Sparks. Tomorrow's video will take you inside another moment when humanity chose hope over division. I promise you won't want to miss it. your understanding of how ordinary people can create extraordinary change will never be the same. This is History Sparks, where the past illuminates our future,